And what's the environment right now within like venture investing within AEC?
Construction tech has really become a term, has really become a segment and a category that investors are interested in, that there are many more startups being created, that there are founders coming into the space, also founders who have a background in technology, who maybe have been successful building companies in other segments, now are coming into construction technology.
You mentioned earlier that Hilti spends around 7% of the revenue on R&D.
I knew you were going to pick up this point. I'm starting to learn lots about you.
Yes. So, like, how did you guys come up with this percentage? Maybe has it been different in the past, or like, why is it 7%?
I mean, that's been very consistent over the years. And this has been a number that allows us to invest in the long-term future.
What differences do you see in technologies trending amongst founders in the EU and compared it to US? Is there like different things that you will focus over where you are compared to the Europe, or that's not the case?
So I would say that the ecosystem in Europe has now started growing, right? But there is a lot more history in the US. And so for example, if we really look into sustainability, there are a lot more solutions being developed now in Europe.
What does day in the life of you look like, Antonia, from a venture investor perspective?
A day in the life.
Yes.
Did you say?
Yes.
There is no one day in the life. There are many days in the life. So there are many pieces, and I love all of them. How all these pieces come together.
I wanted to ask, how big is your venture team, and like, what skills people in venture capital should have to be successful, to invest in a successful manner in construction tech?
So we are a team of 4. And so when you come into venture, actually there is not one path and there is not one skill, right? It's a mix of many. And that's why also collaboration is so important.
What's your message to women in construction?
I would say go for it. It's a super exciting industry. There is also a ton of opportunity, right? Like that was also part of our thought as we were building this. There is a lot of opportunity. There is new technology.
How is technology actually used in AEC? In Corporate Innovations, we explore the innovation and implementation procedures used by those who actually use the tech on a day-to-day basis. Before we get started though, if you're a startup founder or operator responsible for innovation in your company, or you want a deeper, more insightful look into technology in AEC, you won't want to miss our newsletter. From deep dives into particular technologies such as AI, robotics, design, software, and so on. Hot takes from investors betting big in AEC technology, and advice on building tech companies, including the stories and takeaways of the most successful AEC technology founders. Head over to www.bricks-bytes.com and sign up today to get this exclusive material straight to your inbox. And now for the episode.
Antonia, thank you for joining. I'll actually give this one to you to do a little introduction to yourself and your role at Hilti.
Hello. Hey, thanks for having me here. Excited to join you on the podcast today. I'm Antonia Soler. I'm head of Hilti Ventures. A little bit about myself. I'm originally from Barcelona. I've been with Hilti for 12 years, working in their headquarters in Liechtenstein, also in their headquarters in North America in Dallas. And since 2019, I've been in the Bay Area. And right now I'm heading all venture activities for Hilti. And what that means, it's all the work around startup investments, startup collaborations, and all the work that we do around the startup ecosystem and working with also all other VCs and CVCs in the space.
And do you look at opportunities in the US or all throughout the world?
We act globally. So we have team members also in Europe and in the East Coast. And we also get deal flow globally. I would say that most of our activity happens in Europe and the US, but we are interested on overall what's happening around the world.
But is it specifically within AEC or you go somewhere further out from architecture, engineering, construction?
We are very much focused in AEC. So we are a strategic investor, and so very much focused on the construction industry and focus on what our customers care about.
Got it. And so how is it? And what's the environment right now within like venture investing within AEC?
I think it's exciting. So yesterday I was presenting together with Alice Leon, that I think has also been on the podcast maybe a few months ago, and we were presenting at the class at Stanford, and we were just remembering when we had the last SF Tech Week that happened in October. It was the first time ever that there were construction tech events at SF Tech Week. And there were 4 different events happening, and all of them were packed. And there were so many people that we had never met before. And it was also quite interesting to see how over the last years, right, construction tech has really become a term, has really become a segment and a category that investors are interested in, that there are many more startups being created, that there are founders coming into the space, also founders who have a background in technology, who maybe have been successful building companies in other segments, now are coming into construction technology. So I think the space is very exciting, and there are a lot of promising companies being founded and now funded.
What are some of the, what's Hilti noticing that dollars are currently going toward? Like, what kind of technologies within the AEC space?
Yeah, is there a prevalent theme or trend?
Yes, absolutely. There are a lot of investments now also going into AI, and also when we see some of the higher valuations definitely happening in that space. But like, that's such a word that covers so many things, right? It's also so important to think about what are the different use cases that are being covered. And I see some very interesting ones on them, really trying to figure out collaboration and exchange of information on the job site and on the project, right? When you think about how many people are interacting on a project, how many stakeholders, how many documents are needed for a project, and there is the need for real-time information to be accessible by many people. So I see now many companies working on that, and even within that, there are so many different use cases. So definitely an exciting one there. Also, robotics. So construction as an industry, we need software, but we cannot just live with software, right? Like, we also have a huge labor shortage, and robotics is very important for us. And it's very exciting to see that there are many construction tech PCs also very interested in robotics. And we at Hilti are also very much interested in both software and robotics.
So the sole limited partner of your fund is Hilti, I guess?
Yeah. So we invest on behalf of Hilti.
Hilti. Okay. How many, that's out of curiosity, how many investments did you guys do like last year or like, and maybe this year? Or is there anything in the pipeline?
About 2 to 4 investments per year across different stages. So we invest all the way from, we start looking into it at the pre-seed. Maybe the investment happens really at the seed stage, but potentially can happen at the pre-seed, then all the way to Series A and Series B. So yeah, looking at many different companies at all those stages.
Is it, you mentioned earlier, Antonia, strategic, right? You said,
yes.
Okay, so what's Hilti, what's Hilti looking for, like, strategic wise, as a kind of like entire business?
Hey listeners, I want to take a quick break to remind you about the Bricks and Bytes newsletter. If you're interested in learning about the technology shaping the future of construction, you won't want to miss the valuable insights we share each week. To get this exclusive content delivered straight to your inbox, head over to www.bricks-bytes.com and sign up today. Link is in the show notes. Back to the show.
So when we look at companies, and when we say strategic, it's CVC looks at it in a different way. And I think that the term strategic can be understood in many ways, right? For us, really, strategic means long-term and means vision. And so we are interested on companies that are tackling issues for the construction industry. And that means what is that contractors need on the job site or on the office, but what do they need around pre-construction, construction process? So we are very much looking at that and looking at it in a way that it may not be clear today if this is something that would perfectly fit our portfolio. But we think that it has a very great founder. We see that it's a use case that is important for the industry. We see that it's something that customers care about and are interested in. And so when we see all that set of ingredients, those are companies that we are interested in. Also, I think it's about founders that deeply understand the industry and that they care about their customers and their teams, and that we believe they are tackling important problems. But it's very much that, right? And I make that point because I know that there are some CVCs that they may be looking more into what they are using today or how are they building an integration today, right? And we are less, of course, there might be things that we can do today already. There might be collaborations that we can do today, but we try to separate, okay, yeah, there is something we can do today, but we definitely look into the future, into what we can potentially do in the future, even though it's not crystal clear yet that may happen.
Mm-hmm. How do you make these judgments that you think that there's something might happen in the future? What's your
one?
Yes.
So great team around. So we involve many of our colleagues at Hilti when we are also looking at this and making these decisions, right? We work with the business units, the business unit heads, the executive board. So we bring these opportunities. They meet some of the founders we are meeting with. We also collaborate very closely with many of our internal teams, right? And when I say internal teams, means technical teams, it means also the sales teams. So we look at all that. So it's a great team around. Also, most of us in the venture team have had experience before at Hilti operating, right? Like some of us have more experience on the technical side. Some of us have more experience in the product management and sales side, but we all have had experience in the industry. And then the third piece is that we also have a strong network outside the industry. So we really get feedback also from other investors, from other innovation teams, from our customers on how is it working? Is this something that they also think it's a problem that they want to see being solved? So we put all that together and then we try to make our best judgment.
Interesting. Maybe you hinted upon the next question might go then, Antonia. So it would be good to understand what Hilti's innovation process is broadly, and then how the CVC kind of function fits within that. I guessing you have CVC and then perhaps innovation teams as well, but I'll let you explain.
Absolutely. So quality and innovation are core to Hilti, and we spend about 7% of our annual revenue in R&D. So that has been very important for Hilti historically. And what we call the TTM process. And here there are different teams that get involved, right? So we have the business unit teams with product and project management, R&D, manufacturing, supply management, and then also our market organization teams and trade and product management. so that for us, what it's very important is to have good representation of the customer needs in different parts of the world. So right through this process, right, the team that is building to bring into market new products, meet customers to ask for input and clarify the needs and get feedback on prototypes and so much more. So that's more the internal process at Hilti. Now, when we think more about the CBC, it also became clear that innovation does not come only from the inside, and that there are amazing founders developing innovative solutions for the industry. So Hilti's executive board was aware about everything happening in the startup space, and at that time, mainly in the Bay Area, and decided to establish Hilti Ventures, originally with 2 team members in Silicon Valley and also with team members at our headquarters in Liechtenstein. Later on, we decided to also have a team member in Boston, as also there has been more companies being founded on the East Coast. But definitely it became very clear that innovation does not come only from the inside. We want to continue being the best partner for our customers. And we want to work with also the startups and the overall startup ecosystem to bring that value to the industry.
You mentioned earlier that Hilti spends around 7% of the revenue on R&D.
I knew you were going to pick up this point. I'm starting to learn lots about you.
Yes. So, like, how did you guys come up with this percentage? Maybe has it been different in the past, or like, why is it 7%?
I mean, that's been very consistent over the years. And this has been a number that allows us to invest in the long-term future. So there are many initiatives, and Hilti is a privately owned company. So this really allows us to focus on long-term initiatives where we can say, we know we are getting our revenue today from all of this. But what's going to be in 5 years from now? What's going to be in 10 years from now, right? Like, how do we make sure that we are still a company, a successful company delivering value for our customers? And that's where we are really investing also a lot on that long-term innovation for a sustainable future.
Got it. I also wanted to touch on the fact that you mostly invest in the US-based startups and EU-based startups, like you said. What differences do you see in technologies trending amongst founders in the EU and compared to US? Is there like different things that you will focus over where you are compared to the Europe, or that's not the case?
So I would say that the ecosystem in Europe has now started growing, right? But there is a lot more history in the US. And so for example, if we really look into sustainability, there are a lot more solutions being developed now in Europe. I would say that the other piece that is interesting to observe when investing either in Europe or in the US is also, is this a solution that would only work in the US? Or is this a solution that only works in Europe? Or not even that, right? Like there might be cases in Europe where you have solutions that only work in Germany or only work in Spain. And if they work in Spain, maybe the place where they go next, it's Latin America. So I think that's more also part of the consideration, right? Like what can be a solution that can be expanded globally? And what are some of the solutions that, because the industry may work slightly different, and some of the workflows are slightly different, there might be solutions where need to be more regional.
Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to take a touch on the examples maybe of startups you guys invested in last year. Perhaps, like you said, 2-3 investments a year that you do?
Yeah. So maybe one of those that I can share about is Outbuild. So Outbuild is a scheduling software that the founder is Franco Giaquinto. And so this is a startup that we got to know 2 or 3 years ago and was already very impressed by the founder, by how well he knows the industry and the use case and how much he cares about his customers. And so we started working with him, made a very small investment, really got to develop that relationship. Saw how the amazing progress he made very fast. And then last year we participated in the Series A alongside others VCs and CVCs. So very excited also now to be back in Outbuild.
Yeah, right. What's the role of I just noticed here that Hilti Ventures were also an investor in Outbuild in 2017. What's the role? How do you view collaboration? Because I think that you guys also, like, just looking at some of perhaps the marketing and other things you do, you collaborate quite a bit with people like Cemex. So how does that work?
Absolutely. And I love that question because this work in construction tech and in venture, it's very collaborative. And also, many of us are co-investors in these companies. And there are a lot of things that we do together. And definitely one of the things that we work very closely with Hilti Ventures, it's on the startup competition, that if there are any startups listening to us, I really encourage them to apply. So every year, Cemex is on the lead of the startup competition, but there are other 8 to 10 partners that join. And what is very interesting and why I think there is a lot of value for these startups is that the pitch deck, it's gonna be a review for all these partners in the competition. And then some of them get selected, and then they will also join a call where they are presenting. So we have the top 25 presenting on a call, and then the top 8 make it to the final pitch day that happens at Trimble Dimensions in Vegas. Also fantastic event and fantastic opportunity to network with the industry. So really, the competition helps the startups to give them visibility and exposure among all the partners and really to develop that network. And then the reality is that there is also a lot of collaboration among all these partners, right? And some may be construction companies, some other be manufacturing companies for the industry, materials companies, equipment companies. But we all look at it from a different angle. What also makes it very interesting, right? Because then we can have that overall understanding of the industry, looking at it from different angles as we assess companies. And some of these companies have received funding from more than one partner, or have maybe working on a POC with more than one partner, right? So I really think that the visibility and exposure that startups can get out of the competition is great. And it really speaks to the great collaboration that we have.
How do you decide who wins number one spot?
Yeah, that's it. Many things, right? One thing is the team, then there is the use case and what they are developing. What is the traction? Do they have customer traction? Also, the pitch itself, how they are presenting the idea and the vision. And that's very important, right? Because even if you have this amazing technical solution, even if you are solving a very important use case, you need to know how to communicate it. You need to know how to make it relevant, how to make it important for the audience. And so all those things come together, and then we all vote, and we don't know what someone else is voting, right? So that really comes then to make that decision.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious from Hilti Venture point of view, how do you define startup success? What is the success definition from your point of view?
Yeah. So when we invest, we always also invest alongside VCs. So
they want the more axis on the return, yeah, from their point of view.
Yeah, and so I think that that's important from the point of view that when you define success for a startup, right, like that means that they will be increasing revenue, right? Like that means that there are other investors that want to come in. So I think that's one important piece. That maybe I should take a step back, right? So when we look at a company, we look into a strategic fit and investability. So The strategic fit is more about when we think about the problem they are solving for our customers, do we think that this is a company that will bring value? Do we think that this is a company that could potentially fit overall in Hilti's offering? And so that's one way to look at it on the long-term strategic vision, right? And as I said, it's not crystal clear. It's a hypothesis, right? And then on the other hand, investability, that's more the way a VC looks into it. And we want to look at it from the two angles, because we don't want to just have our strategic glasses, right? Like I always say, we also need to put on the VC glasses, because
Capitalist
we know
glasses.
that
Yeah.
these companies should keep being able to fundraise not only from a CVC, they need to also be able to fundraise their next round. And they need to be able to grow, right? And they need to really continue being a valuable solution for the construction industry.
Mm-hmm. Okay. What does day in the life of you look like, Antonia, from a venture investor perspective?
Are they in the life?
Yes. Yes.
Did you say?
Yes.
There is no one day in the life. There are many days in the life.
Mm.
So there are many pieces, and I love all of them, how all these pieces come together. So there is a piece where we do a lot of work on the strategic piece. So we need to understand very well also Hilti's vision, strategy. We need to develop to have a strong network at Hilti so that we get to work with many people in the organization across the business unit and also the different corporate functions and all this, right? So there is a whole piece that is that. Then there is a whole another piece that is developing the external network and our relationships in the ecosystem, right? So we meet continuously with other investors, with the startups, with some of the innovation teams. And also we want to be a good partner in the community. So we also love giving opportunities for startups to present. So we host events, we collaborate with other investors to host events. So there is a lot of work also happening there. And then there is also the whole piece around analyzing the companies, right? And we analyze them from the use case perspective, from the technical perspective, and then also from more than the financial and sales perspective, right? So then there is also quite a lot of time dedicated to work with our internal teams around like assessing the companies, also supporting the founders, doing an exchange, and looking at the company from all the different angles, right? And even once when you decide to invest, there are still many things happening to really close the deal, right? So all that work, I always also say to the founders, because like the process takes time, right? And they are answering questions to the VCs, to the CVCs and all these, right? So I also try to, how we help them to make it as easy as possible. So how I help them navigate then everyone else, so that we can bring all that together. So it's many pieces that come to the day, and there are weeks that there is a lot of one thing and very little of the other one. There are weeks where somehow you need to manage everything together. But yeah, it's also what it keeps it so interesting, right? Someone told me that if you always feel the FOMO, you are good doing venture, because we always want to be learning. We are continuously learning, right? There is a new use case, there is a new technology, there is a new approach, there is a new business model, right? And also, I always also say that we need to be the biggest fan of the companies we invest in, so that when we present the opportunity, we really need to be 100% and explain very well why we need to make this investment, but also later on, right? Like how we can support this company which internal resources can be helpful for our portfolio companies, how we can help them also with introductions and all of this.
Actually, I guess we're in kind of the last few years have been quite politically unstable. So how have you seen that sort of like the geopolitical and perhaps macroeconomic environment impact investments within construction tech?
Look, there is some of these charts that I think really tell the story. So we saw that 2020, 2021, right? Like there was these huge valuations and then everything has slowed down a lot. So when you look into construction tech, actually, the number of investments has not slowed down. Valuations may be lower, and some of the investments happen earlier stage, but there are the same or more number of investments in construction technology, which shows that there is still so much need for innovation in our industry. But also, when you think about it, construction tech got a bit later into the party, right? So even like, I think 2017, it was when the first venture funds for construction tech were getting started, right? Like, and at that time, we hadn't seen some of the exits that then happened in 2020, 2021, 22, right? So there has been a lot happening for construction tech. And also there are some things that still continue being very true, right? The labor shortage has been true for now many years, and it continues being very real. And so we still need more solutions. There is still a huge need for housing. So all those things really make that the needs for innovation are high, that the needs for construction are high. And so there is still a lot of opportunity to build companies and to get investment in construction there.
Now I know what I wanted to ask. So when you were explaining your day and your daily activities, I wanted to ask how big is your venture team, and like what skills people in venture capital should have to be successful, to invest in a successful manner in construction tech?
So we are a team of 4. And so when you come into venture, actually there is not one path and there is not one skill, right? It's a mix of many, and that's why also collaboration is so important. So, and I also look at this when I look at founding teams or when I look at the cap table. It is, what's the background of the founding team? Do we have someone who has maybe more of a technology background and someone who has more of a construction industry background? Or maybe someone who has built a company before? Also, when looking at the different investors, might there be an investor with bigger focus on construction, another one with a bigger focus on robotics or SaaS, so that everyone, or that we can bring all those skills together to really help that company succeed. And that's also very similar when we look at our venture team. We have had different experiences in the past that then we all bring to the table and that we can challenge each other when we look at companies. And then for some of the skills that we may be missing or that we need to be stronger, we also collaborate a lot with many of our colleagues at Hilti. And then also we collaborate with our extensive network within construction tech.
Is it maybe does it happen or not? That's like CVCs would gather and invest in particular startups as a joint, not joint venture is probably too formal, but as a collective force. Like this, I'm just trying to figure out how deep this collaboration is between certain CVCs.
I would not describe it like that. There might be some VCs or CVCs with whom we now have co-invested once or twice, or maybe that we have known for longer and that we have built more of a relationship, right? Trust is also very important. Or maybe where we have more common interests, so that the chances that we co-invest are higher. But I mean, we have co-invested with more than one, right? So it's not just that you limit it to a group.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense. Okay, I think we covered most of these that we had planned. So, Antonia, maybe we should go to you are the co-founder of Women in Construction Tech. I was actually speaking to someone yesterday who mentioned this to me. Good timing.
Who was that? I'm curious.
From the what do they call it?
From the Women in Construction.
Construction Tech Alliance. I think they'll be doing an event with you in New York sometime soon.
Oh, I think maybe
you don't know that.
no, but maybe I know who you were talking to, probably.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, could you tell us more about what that was, what the purpose of it is, and why you founded it?
Absolutely. So, Women in Construction Tech, it's a community dedicated to creating opportunities and developing relationships for innovative women in construction. And actually, there is a pretty nice story about how it all got started. So, as I was joining Hilti Ventures, I had a meeting with some other investors, and then we said, okay, let's connect one day for coffee, and which other women do we know in the industry? And it was just 5 of us sitting at one of the Blue Bottle cafes in San Francisco. And there was this big table that could fit 10 people, and it was only 5 of us. And we said, okay, our goal is that it's to fill the table. We want to see more women around the table. And so we said, let's start a WhatsApp group and let's see what happens. And then a couple of friends made introductions to other women in the industry. I think by then we knew 20 women in the industry. And so then we went to a conference, and there were maybe only 2 or 3 women in that conference. And there was this whole conversation about ESG. And so then I approached one of the organizers, and he said, look, we want to change that, but we don't know how. And I said, okay, let's work together on this. So then we helped them to get more women into panels, so that at the next conference, in each panel, there was at least 1 woman. And then also we created a whole pre-event. We had 50 women coming in, and we said, okay, we think there is something here. This is something that people care, that people want to see more. And so people were also approaching us, interested to collaborate and to do more things with us. And so fast forward, we now have a whole leadership team for Women in Construction Tech. We have local chapters across the world, mainly in Europe, the US, and Latin America. So there are different groups, and really the goal is to develop relationships more than exchanging business cards, right? We always said we don't need to become a group of 1,000 or 2,000. We may only be 100 or 200. It's okay. But we want to make sure that we have that informal network that we can reach out to, that we have developed trust, that we can just send a WhatsApp or a text message and get a quick answer of someone we can call, right? And that will have huge impact. That can have huge impact for all of us, right? We know that in some cases we may be the only woman in the team, right? And so how to also have another group, even if it's outside, but it's still within the industry, that you can connect with. So very happy and very excited that so many people wanted to see this. We also have plenty of men that came to our events and that are allies and that support this and want to see this happening. And that we are bringing value to so many people in the industry and to our members.
Or is it just venture people? I guess not based on the
Venture women, we wanted to say.
Venture women, yeah.
It is. So we think about everyone who plays in this space, right? And that means you will have the investors, you will have the startups, and also you will have everyone who is implementing the technology. So there might be project managers, project engineers that really want to try new technologies, implement them in their job sites, that want to learn about this. Super welcome, right? The idea is that how we make these connections where more women get funding, where we can find more women building companies, and also that these women who are building the company also can access customers and build relationships with customers. And already out of the events, we have had companies that have met an investor at one of our events, and 2 months later, they were getting funding. We have
Right.
had people that, thanks to some of the conversations they have had, they were able to negotiate a better salary or a better title, right? A better promotion. So I think that it really speaks to the value of this informal network where maybe we can have conversations that you cannot find online or that you cannot ask to someone else.
So what's your message to women in construction?
I would say go for it. It's a super exciting industry. There is also a ton of opportunity, right? Like that was also part of our thought as we were building this. There is a lot of opportunity. There is new technology. Job profiles that also might be changing. Also robotics, like makes it that maybe a strength is not the biggest need, right? Or like it's not just a strength what you need for a job site, right? Like you may also need other skills. So it's more about, okay, what is everything that is new happening and what do we need to learn? So to be the best prepared person to jump on that next opportunity. But it's super exciting, right? Like when walking around, and I remember when I was managing the sales team and I was walking around San Francisco and I would see some job sites where I had been selling or I knew that our products were there, right? I would get super excited because I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to be this amazing building in San Francisco that is, it's going to host this many people. And I know that we saw our fire stuff. So when you know that which things that you can see that you have had an impact, and the industry has plenty of that, and there is need for innovation, there is need for implementing more technologies, there will be need for newer skills. So let's learn those skills. Let's network, meet more people in the industry, and go for it.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, I think it's very relevant to show that construction is not only bricks. Well, I'll just say bytes, but it doesn't work this way. Bricks, so mortar and concrete, so that people can see that something else as well, like more technology and other things. But what in your view, in what aspects women founders are better than male founders? If there's something you can say on that.
I'm not a fan of question like this because no one ever asked me the other way around. Like
we can flip it.
No, I don't think we need to prove. So for me, actually, where I look at it, it's like there is a missed opportunity. So the stats say that today only 2% of the funding goes to women founders. So imagine how much opportunity there is that we are missing, because my base is that we all have the same capabilities. We all should have the same opportunities, right? So for me, that's more the base that I want to have more women getting funding. I want to see more women growing at their companies and getting into new roles, because I think that there is a missed opportunity.
Okay, I think that's a good answer.
Yeah, I like it. I think the initiative is great, and we commend you for doing it. So, Antonia, I don't really have any more specific questions. I think we got nicely through the agenda that we put together for you. So, mine, unless you do, I guess we will ask Antonia where people could find out more about you and Hilti, and perhaps any initiatives you've got going, events, etc.
Yes, absolutely. So do you have any specific questions about that, or should it's more from here?
Generally, this is like a little bit of a plug, like if you guys want to plug something that you're working on or looking for.
Or where people can get in touch.
Oh, fantastic. So you can reach me on LinkedIn, and happy to connect there. We try to host events at the office, at our Fieldwire office in San Francisco. Probably we'll have one coming up in March around Women in Construction Week. And then most probably we'll also have another event coming up in May around ENR Future Tech. So we also share those on our LinkedIn page, Hilti Ventures. And also if you're a startup on our webpage, you can find a link where you can also get in contact with us. But also happy to connect through LinkedIn and take it from there.
Okay.
Okay, Antonia.
Thank you very much,
Thank you
Antonia.
so much.